why Hugs feel so good. Yes, ma'am.
So you say that you like run until someone provides shelter for you. How does that work? How does that usually work out for you?
Oh, good question. The most common question I'm asked is like, where do you sleep at night, and how do you get your food, and obviously how does this whole thing start? Most of the time, I would say 80% of the time I camp out. 75% of the time I camp out, just underneath the stars, and occasionally I'll stay with Kobashi or some other person. And I've met some amazing people. Well, I mean, everybody's amazing, but the people that I've had to really get to know, you don't get to know somebody as well as when you're sitting across the table from them, sitting in their home. One of the most wonderful people that I met, I was in a cafe. I was in near Mendocino, California. I was in a cafe, and I heard some people talking about how they had had a parade for peace in town. And I normally don't go. I use this to create my contacts. I feel it's the most compassionate way. If I came up and knocked on your door, hi, my name's the Peace Artist, and I like to, people are like, slam, and that's not very compassionate, But I just do what I'm doing. And if people are interested, they come up and say, so what's this whole Peace Artist thing? Or, are you really running 10,000 miles? Or better yet, I'm sitting doing a piece of art, and somebody comes up and says, that's really pretty. Here, it's yours. And that's the best way for me, I think it's the most compassionate. But I was sitting in this cafe, so I broke my rule because he was doing something for peace, and I went up and said to him, I was like, thank you very much for doing what you can do for peace. And he's like, well, what are you doing? And, I told him, and he's like, well, I gotta go back to work. If I see you on the road, I'll pick you up. And he comes with a knife. Sweet. So he came and picked me up in his old beat-up pickup truck, and it turned out he was the mayor of the town. He took me up to his house, lived up on the side of the hill. He bought this piece of property, and in trying to love the earth, he didn't fell any of the trees on the land. He took to the trees that had already felled, and he cut those up, and he built an entire house. A beautiful house. He's a carpenter. He built this beautiful house out of felled timber. He drilled a well at the top of the property, and gravity fed all the plants and everything on the land. He grew all his own food, had solar panels on the roof, and he provided all his own electricity. The only thing he had that was not so green was the truck, because they don't make a green truck. And come to find out, his name was Captain Rainbow. Cool name, man. But he was a carpenter, and he went over to Darfur, heard of Darfur, yeah, and where they had genocide. And he went over there with all the people that were displaced, and he built all these homes, temporary homes, to sanitation and everything. He built it all for the people, and the government planes came in and bombed the place. But he didn't stop. He just kept on going. And he's done projects with American Red Cross around the world. I met another man. I was sitting in a Starbucks in Fort Bragg, California, on the coast, and I was painting a picture. The man came by and said, "That's really wonderful." I said, "You want it? It's yours." He's like, "Sure." So he sat down next to me. We started talking, and I gave him the piece. And then he came back about a half an hour later, and I was drawing another woman who was homeless, who was sitting in the Starbucks, and I was drawing her. And he comes in and he says, "Peace, I really appreciate that piece. Can I buy you some food? Can I go to Safeway, get you a Safeway coffee?" I'm like, "Actually, I have plenty of food. I'm great. But Harriet here might need some." And Harriet said, "Okay." And I didn't mean to out her that she was homeless, and so he bought her that. Come to find out, this guy Gary not only did that for her and was willing to do that for me, but Gary is a professor of nursing at a very prestigious college in San Jose, and he teaches nursing. He does all the fundraising for the Gay Men's Course in San Jose, and he sells books on his own time to pay for all their stuff. On top of that, he sells books through Amazon, and he funds a trip, and he takes all the nurses that he's teaching every year, and he takes them all over to Laos, where the U.S. would drop more bombs than any other place. He goes and gives free medical aid, builds schools, and all this kind of stuff. He does it all of his own heart. Yes, ma'am.
So do you just go to random places and sit and draw people, and that's how you interact with them?
Yeah, I figured this is where I think I can love on people the most. Is if I pulled a rabbit out of a hat, it's magic. But there's a trick. But when you sit there and you see a blank piece of paper and you see your friend sitting across the table and you see me create that person's face out of nothing, there's a magic that goes on there that we all like. We all like to watch people grow. And so it's what I can do. It's what I can give. But I've babysat kids, I've stacked wood, I've mowed yards, I've done anything I can think of to be kind.
How do you eat then if you like turn down the guy who asked?
Well, I had food at that point. Somebody had already given me some food, and so I had plenty. But I knew Harriet didn't, so it was easier to do that, but that's an interesting point. It's very easy. Once you get to this point, it becomes very easy to give. You're like, that's all I want to do. I just want to love you, and I want to just give. And then the harder part comes where you have to receive. Where I never asked for anything but water, and I was at a Starbucks asking for some water, and the lady behind me read my tunic, and she goes, "I love what you're doing. I'd really like to help you out." And I'm like, "Great, go out and give somebody a hug, do something kind for somebody. That's how you help me, is be the peace you want to see in the world." And she goes, "Well, I want to give you some money," and I always say, "No, I don't want money." And she was incredible. And then she went to it, and after about 3 times, I was at the point where I was like, who am I, a vain thing, to put a kibosh on how you want to experience love, how you want to be. Who am I to keep you from being compassionate? You want to be compassionate to me? Who am I to keep you from doing that? Who am I to keep you from experiencing the bliss of the distant time? So I allowed her to give me the money. I told her, however, that if I meet somebody that needs the money more than I will probably pass it on. Because if I need it, I'll use it. But if I meet somebody who, mom needs some daycare, I'll give the money to her. Because the universe is taking care of me. So, my challenge to you, not really a challenge, but just an idea, a suggestion. Test out what I'm saying. See, I had to test it out to see if all these things were false or true. Try it out today. Do something kind for someone. When you walk up to your group of friends, when you go out in the hall, just go up to your good friend and just tell her, "You know what? I am so happy to have you as my friend." Be earnest. These things have to be real. If you go to the bank and the lady at the bank is being kind of a jerk to you, find something about them. Something real about them. You really can genuinely appreciate them. She has nice hair. You have really nice hair. Fine. It's a compliment. You're not picking up on it. Oh, maybe I'll. But the idea that just do anything kind. Maybe your brother's job is to take out the trash. Go home and just do the chore for him. Don't expect anything. That's the point. Because if I do something, if I go out and I get a bunch of flowers and I take them home and give them to my mom, and what do I want to hear? "Oh, sweetie, thank you. That was so nice," and stuff. And that may happen, and probably will happen. But divorce yourself from the expectation. And if you test out that, and you really want to try something a little bit harder, go out and try to be nice to someone who's not nice to you. Somebody, you hear about somebody talking behind your back, go up to them and instead of, slapping them, or calling them a name, figure out what's important to them and go out of their way and be kind to them. It's the hardest thing. It's the second hardest thing I've ever done. I had a boss, I coached gymnastics and, we're very successful. And my boss told the parents some rude, mean things about me. Weren't true, but she told them. And so what did I do? Instead, I knew my boss liked ice cream. So I went out and I got her ice. I went to the best ice cream store in all of San Francisco. San Francisco has 4 main ice cream stores. And I brought her ice cream to work. I knew her husband liked marshmallows and went up and got her 2 marshmallows. Did she deserve that? Yes, she did. In our modern mindset, no, she didn't deserve anything. She deserved a slap across the face. In our modern mindset. But for me, I see her as beautiful. I see her as the Buddha. I see her as the Jesus. I see her as myself. Why would I not want to love her? Even though she was mad at me. I'm going to tell you the change. We've got about 2 minutes left. Do you have any questions for me?
You have 2.
No? Nothing? Well, you guys are wonderful. Thank you for letting me share with you. I hope that you were inspired and encouraged, or at the very least, had something to think about. You gotta have to do homework. You want a hug? I'd be more than happy to give you a hug. And if we have time, if you want to come after school, I'll throw your picture or something. Cool.
Thank you very much. Oh, thank you, Sean, for saying